Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ask the Nanny. Let me scoot this back a little bit. Now, tonight we are going to be talking with Glenda Probst from Nanny Transitions, and we're going to try to see if we can get her on. Let's see if second time is going to be a charm.
Hello.
Yes. Okay.
I
See.
knew what the problem was. I didn't know how to fix it.
Okay. So what?
You have to have your screen so it'll rotate, and mine was
Uh,
locked.
yes, that's what
So
I figured it was.
yes, so we're good.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Yay!
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I'm a retired nanny. I retired about 3 years ago, but even though I'm retired, I'm still pretty active in the industry. I'm a founding board member of the International Nanny Association. I was the second nanny of the year. That was a way, way, way long time ago. I was a founder of the National Association of Nannies, and I've been involved in a lot of things over the years because I've always been passionate about what I do. I've always been passionate about the nanny industry and about nannies and about supporting nannies. And I think that it's so important. It's so important for seasoned nannies to mentor younger, newer nannies and to help them and to teach them the things that nobody was around to really teach us, you know?
Yes, the things that we had to learn through trial and error.
We learned the hard way. Yes. So, when I left my first family after 8 years, it was really hard, and there was nothing out there to help me. There was really very little information out there about what to do or how to do it or what was okay or what wasn't okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it was devastating to me. It was truly like a death for me to go through this transition. And so what I realized in this was that if I felt this way, I couldn't be the only one.
Right.
I Other nannies had to be going through this. And for me, the big thing was that I needed to give myself permission to grieve, because as nannies, we come into these families and we take care of these kids and we make sure that they're fed and we make sure their diapers are changed and we rock them to sleep, and we're there for them and we bond with them. And you don't just turn those kinds of emotions off and walk away when the job ends. You just can't. And so you grieve it like you grieve a death,
Yes.
because it is a loss of love. It is a loss of a presence in your life. Now, if you're lucky, you sometimes don't have to walk away. Sometimes the relationship doesn't end, it just changes.
Right.
And that is the very best scenario, is to be able to still see the children and to be able to spend time with them and be able to still, even though you're not in their life every day, to be a part of their life and observe them and watch them and love them and watch them grow.
Mm-hmm.
That, as far as I'm concerned, I think that that is the ultimate reward in this profession. But not everybody gets that.
Yes.
And and when you don't get it, it is hard. It is painful. In some situations, it's just devastating. And so I want nannies to understand that the feelings that they have and the emotions that they are experiencing, they're normal, and there's nothing wrong with them for feeling that way. They really should feel that way. But it's really hard because you need people that understand your feelings. And that's the other thing, is that not everybody understands why we get so emotional about our jobs. Not everybody understands why this is so devastating for us.
Right.
So we need a tribe. We need a group. We need people around us that will love us and support us through this. And it's important. You have to grieve it to get through it.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
You can't walk under it or around it. You have to walk straight through it. And once you realize that, and once you start to do it, and you start to deal with the emotions, it eventually does get easier. But the other thing I think that is helpful is to just know that it's okay to feel the way that you feel, that there's not something wrong with you because you're hurting or you're sad, So I kind of got all the way in the middle really fast, didn't I?
Well, I was just gonna say, last year, I felt like I was the only one that was grieving because I got hurt at work, and the doctor told me I couldn't do my job anymore, and I was like, well, what am I gonna do? And I cried for almost 2 weeks. And it was so hard. And then when I had you on here, it's like the light bulb came on, and it was like, now I know why I felt that way. Now I know why it was so hard. Now, it was just like everything, the puzzle pieces just click clacked into place. And it helped me personally to calm down and get my emotions in check, because I thought, well, I've got to be the only one that's feeling this way. And then I was new to the nanny community then too. So I didn't know about all the groups and the tribe and the village and all that. So I didn't know who to turn to, how to take this. And my family doesn't understand because they're not nannies. They don't understand. You love these people, these little people. They come and just snatch your heart. And then what?
And then what? Mm-hmm. And parents don't always understand that bond either. And there are a lot of different dynamics to this relationship that we have with these families. And so one of the things that happens is that a family hires you, and you're in your honeymoon period and everything's going great. And they say, oh, we love you. We don't know what we did without you. We're going to keep you till our kids go to college. And the thing is that in that moment that they say that, they really mean it. They mean it with all their heart, because at that moment in time, they don't really know how they could get along without you. Because when we do our job right, that's kind of the way the parents do feel about us. They do make us feel like we're indispensable. But the reality is that it doesn't always stay that way, because babies become toddlers and toddlers become preschoolers. And then sometimes families want to send their kids to preschool. And then, even if it's 2 or 3 hours a day, they start going, well, I wonder if I have to pay the nanny while the baby goes to preschool, and sometimes that does, that's when the job ends, is when they go to preschool, because then they start trying to make other accommodations. But even when they keep you through preschool, as the kids start to grow and they become more and more independent and more able to do the things that they can do, and they need you in a different way. And this is when the parents start to view that differently. So then they start to think, well, you know what, maybe we don't need her until they go to college, because now it gets a little bit easier, But for the nanny, in her heart, she's going, oh, I got this made. I'm here till they go to
Yes.
college. And so when the children go to school, they go to preschool or they go to kindergarten, and the parents come and they say, we want you to work less hours, or we're going to cut your pay, or whatever that scenario looks like. And it looks different in every family, but so many nannies go through it. And especially, in the fall of the year, they go through it.
Oh, yes. School starts, and then the dynamics change.
Preschool starts, yes. And those changes all happen. And what happens is the nanny feels betrayed. She feels lied to. She feels deceived. And then she gets mad, So it's a bad situation when that happens, because the thing that we have to understand as nannies, and I'm going to be honest with you, it took me a long, long time to learn this, but we have to understand that when our jobs end, it's really nobody's fault. You know, if your job is ending because your kids are going to school or your kids are growing up, that's nobody's fault. It is a natural progression of childhood and life. And families grow and their needs change. And when there's so many emotions wrapped up in that. So on the parents' end, they're just trying to go, okay, you know, we can't really justify paying a full-time nanny while our child's in school.
Right.
So, and the nanny is thinking, but 4 years ago, you said I was going to stay till they went to college, you know? And so there's so many emotions.
Yes.
And so what happens in that moment, what I've learned is that what happens is that in that moment, and I have to tell you, a lot of things that I've learned about nanny transitions, I've learned by talking to nannies who are going through it.
Right.
Because they'll come to me and they'll say, they said they would keep me forever, and now they just act like they couldn't care less if I'm leaving. But when a family goes through a transition, they go through different emotions than we go through, because their goal is to protect their children. Their goal is to send a very clear message to their children that even though nanny's leaving, they're going to be okay, and their parents are going to be there to take care of them and be there for them. And honestly, that is the message they should be sending them, because these children are not ours.
No.
We only get them for a season. We don't get them for a lifetime. They're not our children. Sometimes we're fortunate enough to be a part of their life for a long time, but sometimes we only get them for a season. And when that happens, it's easy to want to try to find fault, but it's inevitable. You could be the best nanny in the world. It doesn't change the fact that someday your job is going to end, because in this industry, in this profession, that's the end game.
Right.
Our job is to teach a child to be independent and not need us. So, you know,
They grow
that's
up.
the reality.
Yes.
That is the reality.
You teach them to be
So
independent and teach them to grow up, and you actually teach them right on out of a job.
you do.
Basically, is what you
Absolutely.
do. You
And
teach
that's how
them
you
right
know you
on.
did your job right.
Yes, but it hurts
They
so
can't run
bad.
them anymore.
It hurts so
Yeah.
bad knowing that you did your job right, but it hurts because, well, I did it right. I should deserve to stay. But
And also at the end, a nanny wants a family to say to her, we don't know what we're going to do without you.
mhm,
You are so wonderful, and we love you so much, and we don't know what we're going to do without you. And how do we, but that's when the job is ending. That's not when the nanny's going to hear that. If she maintains a relationship with the family, when they start to miss her, it's going to be 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road.
mhm.
That's when they're going to miss her. When she's still there, they don't miss her yet. They can't miss her yet.
Right.
And that's the other thing I think that happens is nannies get emotional because the family doesn't get emotional, but they can't miss you if you're not gone yet. And so, you have to let them miss you. You have to let them miss you. And frequently, a family will come back and say, if you still have a relationship with them, a family will come back and say, oh my gosh, we miss you. We don't know, we were crazy to let you go. There are even times when a family will say, we want you to come back. But most of the time, when a job transitions like that, unless you have the ability to transition with the job, for example, when the kids go to school, if you can work less hours and you can work that out with your employers, that is, of course, the perfect situation. And that was the situation that I had with my second family. It was, I was able to do that with them. If, whatever hours I needed to work or they needed me to work, we worked it out. But most of the time, whenever that you start having to piecemeal a job together, like working for another family part-time and working for that family part-time, it's just a matter of time before the job is going to end.
Right.
You get in that denial phase and you think, oh, maybe I could fix this. And for a little while it might work, but the reality is that our jobs end. They do. They end and they change. And even when we get to stay, they still change and we still do transitions. It's just that our transitions, sometimes if we stay and we go through the transitions, it's a different kind of experience. But we all have changes on our job that we have to go through. And sometimes they're hard. Some transitions are harder than others. I kind of like to talk about the fact that, we don't always have control over when our job is going to end.
True.
Sometimes the parents decide that, but one of the things that I like for nannies to realize is that there needs to be an ongoing conversation with your employers about the length of your job. You always need to be having this continuous transition conversation. For example, when you go on your first interview with a family, you can ask them, how long do you anticipate having a nanny? Now, if that family says, oh, well, we thought we'd just have somebody, for maybe a year or two till they can go to daycare or preschool, then that might not be the family that's going to be a long-term job for you. And if you're looking for a long-term job, that might not be the family that you want to go with. But if you're looking for a long-term job and the family says, well, we really want a nanny for a long time, we want somebody who'll come and be part of our family and grow with us, then you have a better idea of how long they think they're going to want you. But then what happens is that then you get the job and that conversation has to continue.
Right.
You have to continue to have those conversations. You as nannies with your employer, you should be having frequent meetings. And meetings don't always have to be these big elaborate, 2-hour sit down sessions. You can sit down for 15 minutes over coffee, come in 15 minutes early or whatever you need to do, but sit down for 15 minutes and say, we need to start thinking about the summer, what we're doing this summer. Or if you have an infant who is starting to get mobile, we need to start thinking about what we're going to do about baby proofing the house. And are we going to do that? Those are transitions that a job goes through as well. So there needs to be an ongoing conversation about transitions, because when you're having those ongoing conversations about transitions, then it makes it easier to bring up the topic of, next year, Jimmy will be old enough for preschool. Do you think you're going to put him in preschool? How many days a week do you think you're going to put him in preschool? Do you want me to start researching preschools for you? How do you think that's going to look as far as I'm concerned? Do you plan? You ask those questions when they're not issues. I believe that a question is just a question when you're just trying to get information. But when your employer they come to you and they say, we decided to put Jimmy in preschool. Then when you have to ask those questions, it's harder because you don't know what the answers are going to be. And your emotions are already starting to well up inside of you thinking, oh my gosh, what is this going to be the end? What are they going to do? Are they going to pay me? But if you have these conversations on an ongoing basis, they're not going to be as hard, and you're not going to be, hopefully not playing a guessing game all the time, because you and your employers are going to be talking about what's going to be coming next and what the plan is. And as the nanny, it's your responsibility to kind of be, it's always our responsibility to be thinking about these things ahead of time.
Right.
And planning ahead, because parents, not all parents, but a lot of parents just get busy. They trust you, they rely on you, and then things happen, and then they go, oh, I never thought about it, but Jimmy's old enough to go to preschool. And so if they're not on top of it, if you're not on top of it and they're not on top of it, that's when things can start to happen as well.
Yes. It happened
So
to
you have,
me. It
mm-hmm,
happened to me. I had a conversation. I was playing with the kids, and all of a sudden, oh, well, we're going to put the boys in preschool in the fall. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, they're 6 months old, and, and I'm thinking, I started counting the numbers. I'm like, okay, it never occurred to me that it. I know the oldest little girl was in preschool, but it never occurred to me that they were going to go to preschool so young, because the old
that's really young. Yeah.
and but the fall, this was like in January, so they would be about a year old by the time they went. It's still young, but
Mhm.
still I was like, I had planned on being here for a minute. But I'm glad she told me early enough where I could prepare for that.
Mhm.
But it also just kind of threw me for a loop. It made me feel some kind of way. I'm like, wait a minute, when did this happen? I never knew that you had planned on putting them in preschool. And I, especially not, even if you planned on putting them in preschool, why so young? So it kind
Yes,
of,
that's really young.
it caught me by surprise. It threw me for a loop, and I kind of went home and was like, I'm losing my job. It was as if they told me, you're fired, or
Mhm.
we'll give you a good reference, and use time to move on. Even though they didn't say it, I still had time. But that's the when she said it, and when it was just so casually, she just blurted it out, and I'm like,
Like you were dispensable.
yes. And I'm thinking to
Mhm.
myself, okay. So, and I bend over backwards,
Mhm.
we need you to stay extra. We need you to come early. We need you. And I'm thinking I'm doing everything right. But when that came out, I was like, that kind of hurt right
Uh,
there.
yeah, you got blindsided. And see,
Yes.
that's one of the reasons why you can start those conversations in the interview. You know what? There's never a fail-safe way to do this job.
Hmm.
There's never a fail-safe way to plan for it. There just isn't, because there are too many things that can happen that just we don't expect. The family doesn't expect. Life happens.
Right.
And but if you can keep those conversations, if you can start those conversations and you can keep those conversations going, it's going to reduce the chance that you're going to get blindsided,
Right.
because you're going to have that conversation, that ongoing conversation about change and about growing and about what the plan is and what they're going to do and what their plan is and how you fit into that plan.
Yes. I have a question for you. There's one of
Okay.
your little your butterfly wisdoms, and I love those. The butterfly wisdom um, says, read the writing on the wall, and
Mm-hmm.
learn how to read the writing on the wall. And how do we know when the writing is on the wall? How do we heed to the writing on the wall? What are the signs for that?
Okay. Well, there are a lot of signs that the writing is on the wall. And one of the things that I say to nannies is that you have a responsibility to know what these signs are. There are a lot of things that you have no control over when a job ends, but you can have control over knowing what the signs are that a job is ending. Because when you're aware that the signs are, that you're seeing the signs, because so many times I talk to nannies who have gone through a transition, and I talk to them about the signs that the job is ending. And they'll come back to me and they'll say, Glenda, I saw all the signs. I just did not pay attention to them. And that's the thing, is that there are definite signs. I'm looking for my list here. There are definitely signs of that a job is ending. And I'm thinking I don't have my list. Oh, yes, I do. Okay. So there are a lot, but the big one, the huge one is when you stop communicating.
Yeah.
Communication is the foundation for every relationship.
Yes, it is.
And it is certainly the foundation for the nanny-employer relationship. So whenever you and your employer stop communicating, you've got a problem. Because when you stop communicating, neither one of you knows what the other is thinking or what the other is planning or anything else. And so that's when those things start happening that, you get blindsided by. When the parent and mutual respect is another big one,
Oh,
because
yeah.
this is huge in an employer-employee relationship, that you both have respect for each other. So when you no longer feel like your employers are respectful or accommodating of you, there's a sign, because they should value you. This should be a 100-100 relationship. The nanny shouldn't have to give 50%, and the employer shouldn't have to give 50%. They should both give 100% all the time to each other, because that's what good relationships are,
Right.
And it shouldn't always be give, and it shouldn't always just be give. It should be give and take. And so when when your employer stops respecting, you're right. If you say you need to get off early and they say, oh, no, you can't do that because that's just not going to work for me. And they've never done that before, then you have to go, okay, what's going on?
Oh, yeah.
When they start to take on responsibilities that used to be yours. If your job is to take Susie to ballet every Wednesday, and you come in on Wednesday morning and the mom says, I'm going to start taking off work 2 hours early so I can take Susie to ballet, then is that the sign your job's going to come to an end? But no, but it could be. Because it isn't just one sign, it's a lot of signs. It's the lack of communication. It's the lack of respect. It's the fact that the parents start taking on jobs that used to be yours. And part of the reason that parents do that is because as kids get older, it becomes easier for them to take them and to transport them, and and so that's part of it. But if it's something that used to be your responsibility, and you're not having something else take that responsibility, like if Bobby has to go to t-ball practice during the time that she has to go to ballet, that's different. But if the parents start taking on responsibilities that used to be yours, that's a sign. When you dread going to work, that's a big
Oh,
sign.
oh, yes. I've been there and done that. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. That's a big one.
yes, it is. And when everything's an issue, when everything's an issue for you, or when everything's an issue for your employer,
Mm-hmm.
those are signs that you're not working at this relationship anymore. They're not working at, something's not working. For most of us, I think there's something innate. We have an intuition when something is wrong. We feel it. Sometimes we don't pay attention to it, but sometimes, but we do need to pay attention to those things.
Yes.
When the parents don't back you up on discipline issues, for example, if you tell the kids you can't watch television while you're eating breakfast, and you come in and they're sitting in front of the television eating breakfast, that's kind of, that's disrespectful. I mean, they're not respecting your rules. The parents aren't backing you up. You're not focused, you're not functioning as a team,
Right.
So that's something to watch. When your paycheck bounces, that's a big one.
No, if the paycheck bounces, I'm not coming back.
Well, I mean, sometimes things do happen and things can happen.
Yes.
When your paycheck bounces, that's pretty big.
That's a big thing. That's a telltale sign.
Um,
That big time telltale sign.
that's a big one, yes. Or when they ask you for their credit cards back and, they want you to do less with the kids or not spend so much money or, you know, only they limit you to one outing a week because they don't want to give you the petty cash. There are always signs to know that there's money problems with the family.
Right.
Um, when they belittle you in front of another adult or even, in front of the kids,
That's a big
that's
no-no.
another one. Sends a bad
That's a
message.
big no-no.
Or they correct you in front of the children. Or if you're trying to talk to them and they just disagree with everything you say, it's another one. When you start the day and you wish it was already over.
I've been there, done that one time. One time.
Oh, we all have.
I'm just like,
We all
okay,
have.
can it be over already? Yes.
When you dread going to work. Or here's one, when your employer avoids you. When you walk in the door and they're like, okay, well, I gotta go, bye. Or, they're coming in, they're like, oh, well, you gotta get out of here. Or they're saying, oh, we'll have a babysitter there tonight and, we'll just see you in the morning. When your employer starts to avoid you, those are signs that you should be paying attention to.
Oh, yeah.
When they stop responding enthusiastically to plans you've made or things you've done with the kids. There's another one.
Just the way they go, okay, all right. Yeah. And you're like, what happened?
Right. When you stop having regular meetings, that goes back to communication, but that's another, the regular meetings. When they start going back on promises that they made to you, if they just, and like sometimes if they say, okay, like maybe they said, no, we're going to give you a raise in 6 months. And then in 6 months, you don't get the raise and there's no mention of it. And then, you say something to them about it and they're like, oh, I don't remember that. That could be a problem.
That is a problem. That is such a disappointment because sometimes you put up with things because okay, well, I'm going to get a raise. I know I'm going to get a raise soon and that'll make it worth staying.
Yes.
But
or a bonus.
Yes, a bonus. But is it really worth staying if they promise you that and they don't mention it and you kind of in the back of your head feel like they're just saying this to keep me to a certain point?
And it just goes right back to that lack of respect and that lack of communication and the fact that maybe they don't value you the way that they used to.
Yeah.
And a general feeling of being out of the loop. Back in my day, we had house phones. You got phone, you answered the phone. You didn't have a cell phone.
And text everything.
You had, so you actually did answer the phone in the family usually. So you did, kind of know what was going on and, mysterious phone calls or debt collectors calling. And just there are signs, but you have to be paying attention to see them. And you need to be aware of them to know what they are.
Right.
And so when you start to see those signs in your job, it's time for you to start to take inventory and to start think about things. And when you see these signs coming, I'm not telling you to put your notice in. What I'm saying is open your eyes and start paying attention and try to fix it. Especially if you've had a great relationship with your employers and you love the family. Parents are busy. I know as nannies we're busy and we have busy lives, but working moms and working dads are busy and they are trying to juggle a job and they are trying to juggle kids and they're trying to have a good relationship with their nanny. They're trying to have a good relationship with each other. They've got so many balls in the air. Sometimes we get neglected because we do our job, we show up, we do our job, we're good at what we do, And it isn't that that they don't appreciate us or they don't respect us. It's just that they forget and they just get so busy trying to do everything else. It's like the squeaky wheel, if we don't squeak, they're not paying attention to us.
Right.
And sometimes by the time they get ready to pay attention to us, things have gone so far down the road that there's no way to bring them back.
And the wheel is falling off.
That's wheels, yes, wheels falling off. And so, it really falls on you to have that communication. It's not fair to put that on your employer. You really need to take that responsibility on yourself. And if your employer is not setting up these meetings, if your employer is not having this communication with you, then you need to find a way to have it with them. You need to say to them, I've noticed some things, I've noticed some changes. I know there are changes coming up. I was hoping that we could just sit down and talk and, just talk through some things. And if you love a family and you want a family and you want to stay with them, it is absolutely worth trying to fix. Not every single time that things are wrong. It's like every time a couple gets in a fight, they don't get divorced.
True.
But communication, I always say to my husband, communication, it's a beautiful thing.
That's right. That's right.
And it is a beautiful thing because when you sit down and you talk with somebody one-on-one and you talk to them respectfully and you listen to them and they listen to you, there's something very special that happens there because you're heard and you're seen. And sometimes it makes a difference.
Yes.
I'm not going to tell you it's going to make a difference every time, but I am going to tell you that it's worth trying.
Yes.
It's worth trying. And if you don't know how to communicate with your employers, Regarding Nannies Regarding Nannies is a blog I used to be involved in. And there are several really good communication articles on the Regarding Nannies blog. Just go on there and parent-employer and communication, and there are some really good ones on there. And, they lay it out, how to do it and what to do and how to prepare for it and all of those things. And, and if that doesn't help you, I really do try to make myself available to people that need help, that need support, that need that guidance. This isn't a business for me. This is a labor of love.
Okay.
For me.
Yes.
This is what I want my legacy for the nanny industry. This is what I want people to remember me for when I'm gone. I want to know that I made a difference in the lives of nannies going through transition.
I hear you. I do too.
And it's just Angela. We got the same heart. We do, because it's important.
Yes,
it is so important. And to me, it isn't about the money. It is about the people. It is about the nannies. It is about the kids. It's about the families. It's about the parents, you know. And somebody has to teach the nannies how to do this. And this was a gift that was given to me. I mean, this is an ever-growing process for me. Every day I learn something. Every day I learn something I have a couple of private Facebook groups for nannies in transition. And every day one of those nannies teaches me something that I didn't know, or something I had forgotten, or something that I think that's really important, And one of the things that I've realized over this last year is that not only do we as nannies need to be there for each other, and we need to lift each other up, and we need to encourage each other, but we need to teach our industry how to do this. And we need to teach parents how to do it. And we need to teach agencies how to teach parents how to do it.
This is true.
Because it's so important. It is equally, how to leave a job is probably more important than how to find a job. Because when you find a job, and it goes well and it goes well for a long time, that's great. But how do you make that transition smooth? Not just for the nanny, not just for the child, but for everybody. How do you make that big change and keep it as kind and loving as possible? How do you teach a child to say goodbye? Because that's what we're teaching them. We're teaching them to say goodbye.
Right.
It
Right.
is probably one of the most important life lessons we're ever going to teach, is how to say goodbye. And it's hard to say goodbye.
So
It's hard
true.
to say goodbye.
There's a grieving process, and some people don't believe that children go through that grief of missing. I have children who talk about their past nannies. Well, you don't know her, but she did this with me and she did that with me. And instead of being jealous that she was this awesome nanny and, well, I'm your nanny now, and we aren't going to talk about her, let the child talk. Let them, it's a part of their grieving process. It's a part of them remembering and paying homage to a great part of their life, their memories. And if you're a great nanny, you can be a part of the next nanny that comes along, the next babysitter, whoever comes along, you will be talked about with the reverence that the past nannies are being talked about. But you have to let them grieve. You have to let them talk about it. You have to let them get it out, and don't shun them or shy away from them talking about it. Talk about it with them. Tell me what was one of your fondest memories? And then maybe we can go and do something like that together. We can create a memory. If this is something that they like to do with their old nanny, try with, put a twist on it. You can create a memory yourself with that same child, and they can compare and say, oh, I loved it when I did it, but I really loved it when I did it with you. It's a part of the process. And if we don't learn how to grieve and how to share and how not to shut them out, how do we expect them not to do it? How do we
That's
expect them
right.
to learn how to do it? Oh, and just before I forget, everyone, please make a comment. Oh boy, okay. I was
We just got so wrapped up, didn't we?
okay. I hit the screen and everything started flipping, and I was like, ah. But share this video, and if you've just joined us, please comment, makes comments. But a question was, can you add the link to the blog you were telling us about? Can you add that after we're done so that
Yes.
people can
Yes.
find it?
It's
Thank you.
just regarding nannies.com, but yes, I will
Regarding
add it.
nannies.com.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank
It's a
you.
blog I did with Kelly Garris, Alice Schaefer, and Greta Schreier, the
Okay.
four of us.
Okay. Now, you were talking about leaving the transition. I had a question about that. When you ask for the reference, do you ask for the reference when it's in the honeymoon stage, when you're all la-di-da and everybody's happy and gay, or do you ask for it at the end because you don't know? I like to ask for it somewhere in the middle because I don't know how the end is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I don't use them as a call reference, I can use the reference letter as it's in my portfolio. This is how they felt about me when everything was going good. Because sometimes parents, if it goes sour, parents tend to forget all the good things that you did, and they remember what made them angry. It's at the forefront of their mind. And
Mm-hmm.
if people are asking them for a reference and asking them questions, well, she really didn't do, or she did this, but it's, and they have an attitude. Excuse me, they have an attitude about it. So I try to get the reference kind of in somewhere in the middle when I'm in their good graces. I get a letter. So is
I
that
I like to suggest that when you do your annual reviews,
okay?
you ask that they put something in writing for you, and then each year they update it.
Okay.
They can do a letter of reference. They can just do, positive statements, whatever they want. But I think that's a great time to ask for it, and then I can update it as time goes on.
Okay.
And one of the things you can say is, can you write me a letter of reference so I have it for my files? I like to just keep it on file. And then if something happens, you want all, because if I'm here 5 years and you write me a letter of reference, it's going to be different than the letter of reference that you write me my first year.
Right.
Okay. And so they're not going to remember all those things from that first year.
Right.
So, ask for it. You might get it and you might not, but it's a good thing to ask for.
Right.
And, I think that if a family really likes you and respects you, that they're going to do that for you. They're going to understand and they're going to want to do that for you.
Yes.
And this is kind of on that topic and it's kind of not on that topic, but this is a message that I want to get out to everybody. And that is, don't work without a work agreement.
Yes.
Don't work without a work agreement.
Yes. Say it again.
It isn't going to protect you. It isn't going to keep your job forever. But what it is going to do is it's going to clarify things. It's going to put things in black and white. It's going to be a reference point so that whenever you are not sure about something, you can go back and you can say, okay, well, the way I understand this is what it says right here. But this isn't what we're doing. So how do we fix this? But if you don't have something in black and white, I'm not going to tell you that I don't think that a work agreement or even a contract can stand up in a court of law. That's what I've always been told. But I like to refer to a work agreement as a trust agreement.
Yes.
That it is the first thing that you and your nanny family have to build trust between you, because it says, this is what you can trust me to do, and this is what I'm going to trust you to do. And again, not a legal document, but black and white, piece of paper, black and white, that you can refer to. Because when things start going bad or when you start having problems, just to have that piece of paper to go back to, it's going to save you a lot of heartache and headaches. So I just can't stress it enough. I just can't stress it enough. I mean, and I'll be honest, my work agreements were not always elaborate or fancy. They just were what they were, but they worked because my employers trusted me and because I trusted them. And but you need to have something. You need to start with something so that for your own protection, it just sends a very positive, professional message to an employer.
Yes.
And it protects you. In many ways, it protects you.
Right.
Because it keeps you from being taken advantage of. And it keeps somebody from being able to go back and say, well, I don't remember saying that. Oh, but
right,
it's right
here in black and white.
That's right.
Or whatever color ink is in.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah. So you do grieve. So when you start to see these signs on the wall, when you start to see these signs that your job's coming to an end, and you start to grieve, then, and all these emotions start coming up. And so you've tried to talk to the parents and, you've had a conversation with them and you've come either to a mutual agreement or a not so mutual agreement that your job is ending. This is when you really need to be paying attention to the children. You need to focus on the children. You need to be there to support them and to help them through this. And you need to be an advocate for them. You need the first thing that's really important is that you and the parents need to decide when the children are going to be told, what the children are going to be told, who's going to be there, and if it's okay for you to be there. And maybe they're going to let you be there and maybe they're not. And honestly, that's their choice. You have to respect the decision that they make in that situation. And you don't know what they're going to tell the kids. They'll tell you. They might not tell the kids what you want. to tell the kids or
Right.
what you think that you want to tell the kids. But you have to be really careful and you have to be really respectful during this time, especially if you want to maintain this relationship,
Mhm.
if you want to be able to see the kids, if you need them for a reference. And, this is not the time, no matter what's happened, no matter if they've treated you well or if they've treated you badly, this is not the time for revenge. This is not the
Oh
time to
no.
see what you can do, what you can get back at them for. This is the time to show how strong you are, how professional you are, how you can stay on the high road, um, how you can be trusted. Because when you are at the end of a job and things have not gone well and you are not happy and you start to do things that are unethical or unkind or unprofessional, I guarantee you there will be a repercussion for it down the road.
You reap what you sow.
Excuse my French, but it will come back to bite you in the butt.
Yes, you reap what you
Really,
sow.
really will. Because the nanny industry is a small world.
Yes.
Don't think you're going to get away with it, because it's going to come back to haunt you.
Yes, it
It
will.
really is.
Yes, it will. It's time for some adulting. That's that came to my mind when you said be professional, don't do revenge. It's called adulting. Be a
Adulting.
professional adult. I
That's
know
right.
we don't want. I've read so many T-shirts and memes on Facebook and Instagram and all across the internet. I don't feel like adulting today. Well, that's when you need
Me
to.
either most days.
That's when you need to start adulting.
That's
Be
when
the
you do it
professional.
anyway.
Yes, you do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And trust me, just like you reap what you sow, they're going to reap what they sow too.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've had people who just and I can't say that there were very many because I'm very discerning about who I work with. And I say with and not for because we are a team and we work together. It's not, even though they're giving me a paycheck, they respect me and I respect them and we work together. So I work with families, not necessarily for families.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
that's
like
the
that.
way that the family should feel about you. She is
Mm-hmm.
working with us because our common goal is to raise intelligent, kind hearted little humans. That's our
All
common
the way
goal,
to the end.
all the
All the
way.
way to the end.
And don't be putting subliminal messages into your child on your way out about their you
Right.
know, I've had parents do subliminal messages to their kids when I had a home daycare. What my mama said, and my mama said, and I heard her say this, and I heard her say. I'm like, okay, it's time for you to go. I love you, baby,
Mm-hmm.
but if I'm gonna hear my mama say it all day long from you, it's time for you to go. I will find someone else to take your spot. You gotta go because and it's not the child. The child is just repeating what they heard from the parents, and you can't blame the child. And you and try not to milk the child for all the information that you can get, but it
Because
becomes
they'll tell you. They tell
honey,
all.
they tell all. I always say, if you want to know what goes on in a child's household, watch them in pretend play. Who becomes the cat, the dog? Who becomes the Uncle Vinny, the Aunt Sue, and they will give them names that they are familiar with, and you know exactly who did it, and exactly what. No, you can't do that because you're supposed to say this, and you're supposed to do that because that's what they do. And you're like, okay, so what else did Aunt Sue do? What else did Uncle Vinny do? Because they their pretend play is their reality coming into their play. And you know exactly what happens. But be an adult. Whatever you put out there is going to come back to you. You're going to attract what you put out. So if you're
Right.
putting out evilness and trying to get back at people, it's going to come back on you. It may not be today, it may not be tomorrow,
But years down the line, it may hit you. And when you plant one little seed, sometimes you get one apple. But then there are times you plant that one little seed and you get a whole tree of apples and they come tumbling down on you. I'm just saying.
Well, and there's another part of this, which is a good segue into the next thing that I want to talk about, and that is that, are you there?
I'm here.
Am I
I'm
here?
here.
Okay, sorry. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is, and this is a really hard thing, and I know that it's a really hard thing, but you have to forgive your employers for letting you go.
Yes.
You have to forgive them. I don't care how they treated you. I don't care if they treated you great for the first year and badly for the second and third year. It doesn't matter, because what is going to happen is that if you don't forgive them, you're not going to be able to move forward. You're just not. Because when you are angry and you carry anger around inside of you, you don't move forward. You don't let it go. You take it everywhere you go. And anger and hate and pain and hurt are a heavy thing to carry.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever heard me talk, I know that you've heard me say this. Love looks forward and hate and anger look back. And you can't move forward in love if you're still carrying hate and anger and hurt and pain. You just can't. And so I'm not saying that it's okay what they did to you. I'm not saying that you have to say that it's okay what they did to you. What I'm saying is, because they did what they felt like they needed to do at the time. Maybe you will understand that in 5 years or 10 years down the road, and maybe you will never understand it. There are things about my first transition that I will never understand. It was.
Okay, I'm losing you. It froze. Glenda? Okay. I don't know what just
Oh,
happened.
sorry, I can't get there. Okay, I'm so
Okay,
sorry. You're there?
I'm here. I'm here. I was like,
Okay.
ah.
Oh, my phone keeps ringing and I keep declining it and it just keeps ringing again.
They want to
Okay,
talk to
sorry about that.
you. Hello?
Okay,
Okay,
so I was talking about forgiveness,
right.
and you just, it doesn't mean what they did was okay. It just means that you have to let it go, because you're not going to get through it. You're not going to get past it until you let it go. And I will post a link in a little while after the video's over. But there is an article on the Thought Catalog called The Art of Letting Go. And that has been tremendously helpful to me. Even now, it is tremendously helpful to me to read that article and to put things into perspective. And the other thing that, is that you can't, you just can't, like I'm going to say it again, you can't carry around that hurt and anger and pain and move forward.
Right.
It's not going to happen. And we teach children, we're all about the love and the care and the compassion. And we can't teach children to love, and we can't be loving, compassionate nannies and caregivers when we are carrying around these past hurts. We can't get angry at a family because their children grew up, because that is just a fact. That's just the way it is. And our jobs end. Our jobs have to end, and they do end, and it is our responsibility to learn how to end them gracefully and how to walk away gracefully and how to move forward with love and peace. Because it's only going to help you. It's only going to make you a kinder, more caring, compassionate nanny to be able to process your feelings and forgive and move on.
Yes. You have to choose to forgive.
You have to.
Other,
And you don't have to do it for them. Do it for yourself.
yes.
Do it for yourself.
It's just like taking
Because
poison and expecting somebody else to die.
it is exactly, yes. Yes. And dragging hurt and pain around with you. And walking forward, looking backwards. If you try to walk across the room and turn around and look behind you, you're going to walk into something. You know,
A
it's
wall.
hard to do that. It's hard to walk backwards and move forward. But if you go forward and watch where you're going and focus on what you want to do and what you want to be, then you're going to get there.
Yes.
But you have to want to do it. And you have to do it with a loving, open, caring heart. And it's hard when you've been hurt. But you have to remember that you are teaching little humans how to live and how to love.
So
And
true.
that is one of the greatest lessons that we teach them is how to say goodbye. And we need to teach them well.
Yes.
We need to
Gracefully.
teach them well.
Gracefully.
Yes.
You have to have grace, and you have to walk in
Mm-hmm.
grace, because if not, the hurt feelings and the baggage, if you keep carrying, it's like the windshield is in front of you. That's why the windshield is so big, because all you see all this stuff in front of you. If you keep looking out that little tiny rear view mirror, you can't drive forward and see everything in front of you if you keep looking in the rear view mirror trying to check out what's behind you or what's in your past. You're going to hit something, and and a wreck. You do not want to be in a train wreck, a car wreck, or any other kind of wreck. You don't want to wreck your life like that. So forgive.
And you also, you can't blame yourself. You also have to forgive yourself, because sometimes we do things on a job, especially when things start to go badly. We do make mistakes, and we do, kind of get emotional, and sometimes we make bad choices and bad decisions. And we do. When you get emotional about something, sometimes that happens. So if you did something on the job that was wrong, or that you shouldn't have done, or that you felt like you shouldn't have done, or you weren't proud of what you did, you need to deal with it, but then you need to let it go. You need to learn the lesson. There's no job that is a mistake, but there are things that we can learn on every job. And so we need to learn the lesson that we learned from that job, and we need to take it and make it part of us, and then we need to move on and not dwell on it and not beat ourselves up about it. Just learn the lesson and move along.
True. So true.
And so many times when a nanny loses her job, she takes a hammer and hits herself over the head and says, I shouldn't have done that, and I shouldn't have done that, and I shouldn't have done that, And that's just not productive. And it doesn't help you heal. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody does silly things. Everybody does things that they wish they hadn't done. Learn the lesson and move on and move forward. And then, when you start moving forward, take good care of yourself. Don't use that time to binge eat or lay on the couch and watch television all day, or drink alcohol, have 3 margaritas at lunch. Don't do that,
But it feels good. Binge eating, that comfort food. That comfort food is I'm eating because there's a hole in there. I gotta fill the hole, Glenda.
Take care of yourself and keep loving yourself. And sit down and think about if you can't get past it, then sit down and think about all the good things about yourself. Think about all your positive qualities. Think about all the good things that you've done in your life, the positive things that you've done. build yourself up. There's nothing wrong with building yourself up and making yourself, you have to love yourself. You have to love yourself to get through this. You can't just keep hurting. You know, when you're hurting, you have to keep loving yourself. You have to get up every day and you have to think of one thing to be grateful for, because a heart of gratitude is going to change everything. And you have to do this self-care. You have to take care of yourself.
That's so
that you can
important.
heal and you can get better and you can go to a new family. And do things that you enjoy and do things that make you happy. And you might have money. You might not have the money to go out and get a mani-pedi. So go buy a new bottle of nail polish and have your friend do your nails or do your own nails. You know, do little things. You don't have to do things that cost a lot of money to show self-care and self-love. Do the little things that you enjoy doing. And then if it feels too overwhelming for you to go out and start looking for a job, then break it down into smaller parts. Get your resume together. Start getting your resume together. And one of the things that I like to suggest is that one of the ways you prepare for the inevitability, and that your job's going to end, is that you, every year, you update your resume, you know, update your resume and make sure that your contacts are in order. And that way, if your job does end, you've got your resume going. But if you haven't done that, update your resume, contact your references, make sure that they still are willing to be a reference for you. Do that. Contact your agency, but break it down into small, manageable tasks so that if you don't feel like you can do a lot one day, do what you can and try to do more the next day. But don't beat yourself up because you're grieving. You're grieving. And give yourself permission to grieve. Give yourself permission to go through the steps of grieving so that you can work through this.
Yes.
Because you have to go through it. You're going to go through it now, or you're going to go through it 5 years from now after you go through job after job after job that didn't last. But you have to go through this grieving period to get to the next period. And a lot of times what happens is, and going back to learning the lesson, is that what happens is if you don't learn the lesson from the first job, you repeat the same mistakes on the next job. You know, same song, different day. So, you know, you have to learn the lesson. You have, and this is a great time. You have this time. Do some self-care. Take some classes. Like Tracy just said, exercise, work on your portfolio, work on your connections, work on your networking, you know, connect with people. All of those things you can be doing while you're looking for a job. And if you're taking good care of yourself as you're healing, you're going to be able to do a better job when you start actually getting ready to go out there and start with another family. And if you can, you need to give yourself some time before you shouldn't, it's not a good idea to end a job on Friday and start a new job on Monday. You really, even if you could take 2 days even to just kind of process things, whatever you can do to process that and to grieve that, then that's what you should do to help yourself. Okay? That's what you should be doing.
I agree with Susan. She says, so you should have some savings for this inevitable period.
Oh, yes. And that's another thing. If you're a live-in nanny, you need a backup plan.
Oh, yes.
Okay?
Yes.
If you're a live-in nanny and your employer comes to you and says, your job's ending and you have to be, you're going to have to be out of the house. And what if they say you have to be out of the house? Sometimes things go bad fast. And you never know when you're living in someone else's home. So what if somebody says you have to be out of the house in 24 hours? You need a 24-hour backup plan. You need someplace that you can go on a 24-hour notice. And you need someplace that you can go longer term. Now that can be the same place, If it, you know, if you have somebody that will let you do both of those, that's great. But have those two things in place, especially if you're a live-in nanny, have those two plans in place. Because when your employer comes to you and says you have 24 hours to get out of this house, you are going to fall apart. I have been on the phone with nannies who just were like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And in that moment, all you can do is get through that moment.
Right.
You know, you can just get through this minute to get to the next minute. Where do you go? Where do you go short term? Where do you go long term? Have that plan in place, because then if that happens to you, you have the peace of mind of knowing you have some place to go while you get your act together. Okay? And the other thing that you should do, as who said that? Was it Kimberly that said that? You should have some money put away. You should save money out of each paycheck so that you have a little bit of money so that you don't feel like you have to get a job the next day.
Right.
No.
And then you become desperate and you take anything and be worse than where you were.
Settle.
Yes.
And you settle.
Yes.
And you don't ever want to settle.
No.
You don't ever want to get yourself in a position where you have to settle for a job, because that is a bad situation.
For sure. For sure. You don't want to do that. I've done that one time and I regretted it. I needed it at the time, but oh boy, did I regret it. I was like, what in the world were you thinking? Hold on, let me switch this. Okay, my phone is running out of juice. Let me.
Oh.
Yes. Okay. Come on, plug. Get in there.
Uh-oh, what happened?
Oh, sorry. Okay, can you see me? Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. My phone was running out of juice, so I had to take. I have the iPhone 7, and it has this connector, and the only connector is that my earplugs is the same connector where the power cord goes. So it's either use the earphones or the power cord. So my phone was running out of juice, so I need the power cord.
Okay.
It was a choice. I had to settle. I settled on the power cord. So I'll have to talk a little louder so you all can hear me.
Okay. We didn't really talk about how to prepare the children, but I want to talk a little bit about something that a lot of people have been asking me about, especially when school's in the fall, when a lot of nannies lost their jobs because their kids were going to school full time. Mm-hmm. And one of the things they asked me was, you know, they'd say, will they remember me? And what can I do to help them? And so what I want to say to you is this: one of the best gifts that you can give the children that you take care of is to help them to know their value and to help them to know their strengths. Yes. And to talk to them about the fact that they are strong enough to get through these things. You know, you should never let a child call you mommy. You should never pretend to be their mother. You are their nanny. You have a job.
Okay, you're breaking
their nanny.
up. Oh.
You have a job to do. You have a responsibility to their family. You're getting paid to do. You do not take the place of the mother. A child only has one mother. A child will always only have one mother. And it doesn't mean that you can't have a special relationship with that child, but there are boundaries. There are lines that you just can't cross. But you can teach them how strong they are. You can teach them that they're strong, that they're funny, because whenever a child is getting ready to say goodbye to you, you want to send a very clear message to them that you know that they're strong enough to get through it because you've taught them to be strong enough to get through it. because as nannies, that is our job. It is our job to teach them not to need us. But the reason that they don't need us is because we've taught them well. And that's the thing that we have to find comfort in, is that we have to know that we've taught them well. And we've taught them not to need us, and we've taught them to love their parents, and we've taught them to be kind, and, taught them all the right things. And then we need to help them remember. We need to help them remember the things about themselves that make them strong, that make them special, that make them able to get through this. And then, older kids, those are things that they're going to carry with them all their life, to instill strength and that sense of self and that sense of I can do this because I'm strong enough. Everybody needs that. Everybody needs that feeling. Everybody needs to carry that with them, to reach down on the days when you have to dig deep, to remember that you're strong enough to do it. And those are the gifts that we give the children in our care. We can't be with them forever. It's not supposed to be that way. We have them for a season and we love them for a lifetime. And you're right. It's okay to let them know that it's okay. And it's okay for us to let them know that we're sad, because it wouldn't be normal if we had this relationship with them and it ended or it changed and we didn't have any about it. That's not teaching, that's not teaching them how to deal with their emotions, and how to deal with hurt or pain or loss. And again, it goes teaching them how to say goodbye. And that's a big, big, big lesson. That's a big lesson. And the other thing is that a lot of times nannies who, like if they've only been with a family a short time and they're taking care of a baby, and they say, well, I'm afraid to remember me. Well, I can't lie to them and say that, oh no, they'll remember you. They might not remember you, but they will remember that you loved them. They will remember that someone loved them, someone took care of them, that someone was there when they cried. You build a foundation of love. You work with a family to build a strong foundation so that their children feel loved and cared for and nurtured and taken care of. And that's what a parenting team does. And that's what our job is. Yeah. And so, we have to teach. So what I can say to you is, maybe that baby is not going to remember you, but you've helped that baby with a foundation of love. And you don't forget love. That's a feeling that you don't forget. And they don't forget that you loved them. And it matters what you do and what you did, whether you're there for 6 days or 6 years, what you do matters. And it matters every day. And that's why every day we have to bring our A game. We don't get to phone it in. This is a lot. This is a day in the life of a child. And what we do helps lay a foundation for them. And we have to be good at what we do. And we have to love what we do. And we have to educate. And we have to be willing to expand our professional horizons and go to conferences and go to things like this. I mean, I am so proud of each and every person that's in here that's taking their time to listen and learn to know. It is important. And we're all going to go through this one day, at least once, and probably a whole lot more than once. It's our responsibility to learn how. And it's our responsibility to help the family to know how. Because if each and every one of us could take this information and go to our nanny family and teach them how to transition when it's time for our job to end, how much better and how much happier would everybody be? And how much better off would the kids be? And how much happier would we be? And how much more peaceful would this be for us instead of such a hard, sad, emotional time? You know?
Yes, it is.
So,
I cried with my babies before.
the question,
I was getting ready to go, and they're like, "We don't want you to leave." And I'm like, and I even had one of the older kids tell the young kids, it was like on a Monday, and my last day was going to be that Friday. Oh, don't cry. She's going to be with us forever. And I almost lost it. And I was like, no, don't say that. Because I'm like, okay, you got to hold
I
on.
know.
You got to be strong. And when Friday came, they had made me these gifts, and we're gonna miss you, and we want play dates, and we want this. I mean, they had a list of requests of what they wanted me to do once they were gone, once I was gone, to come back and see me, come back and do this. And when I went back to see them, their dad said, "Somebody's here," and they were like, "Where? Where?" And I said, "Hello." And they just came running and jumping on me. And I was like, it was just like my heart. I was like, I can't take it. My heart is going to explode. But it is such a good thing. And that goes back to what you were saying about having a good relationship. When you get to go back and you get to have the play dates and you get to see them again and you get to do all these fun things with them, even if it's just to go and play Legos. So they remember that. And they're glad to see you, and they're glad that you're here.
And kind of jumping way back to what we were talking about, when we were talking about that earlier, about this being an ongoing conversation that can start in the first interview, can go, you know, that this part, this transition part, this is something else that you can talk about in the interviews. You know, in your interview, when you say, how long do you anticipate having a nanny? You know, then you can also ask that question. Have you ever given any thought to what my role will be in your family with your children when this job ends? And because when a job ends and things are emotional, that's not always the best time to have that conversation. But if you've had that conversation and you've started that conversation and it's been an ongoing conversation where both parties already know that the children are always going to be in your life and you're always going to be in theirs, and they're going to be play dates, and they're going to be, you know, you're going to have visitation, and you're going to have this ongoing relationship. The relationship's not going to end, the relationship's going to change. Then that gives everybody a lot of peace of mind, and especially for the children. And when you can say to the children, you know, well, my last day is Friday, but I'm coming back, and put it on the calendar. This is the day I'm coming back to see you again. And then they know when you leave, you're coming back, you know, and there are a lot of differences in if the relationship is ending or if the relationship is changing. So, you know, those are all things that you need to think about. But I really encourage you to have that ongoing conversation about transition. I really encourage you to have that conversation about, you know, how do you see my role in the family going forward? Okay. Yes, you're right, Joylyn, they will. And somebody asked a question up here about, okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say there was a question up about a reference letter. If it should have it
Yes.
emailed, or
Is
if
it
it's better
okay
to
to have it emailed, or is it better? Well, it's probably better to have a hard copy and hand it to them. But, you know, in today, you know, in the green world we live in, that's another, you know, thing to consider. I honestly, I'm not really sure how much of a big difference it makes. What, do you have an opinion on that, Angela?
It hasn't made a difference. My family's emailed me because it's so much easier for them to just type it out in an email and send, and it's done, instead of, okay, I got to go and print it out, and then I got to sign it, and then I got to give it to her. and it's like, okay, I typed it, here you go, and you have it. And I print it out and I put it in my portfolio. And parents, when I take it in my portfolio, they just flip the page and they keep reading, and most of them are not signed because they were emailed to me. And I explained to them, my portfolio about the pictures. These are not all the children that I have taken care of. These are just the ones that I have permission to use in my portfolio. I can tell them experiences about what we didn't see. They will ask questions about, well, I see you with this family, you did this, this, and this. Explain to me. And I just, explain to them what was said in the reference letter. And most of the time, I have call references and I have written references. I have written references from way back in like 10, 12 years ago. I have them in my portfolio so they can see that I have consistently been given letters of reference, letters of, my accolades or whatever it is that the parents are saying about me. They date back that far so that parents can see that I am consistent. I have been at this for a while. This is my career. I am serious about what I'm doing. And it just puts a different light in their mind. This is what she loves to do. This is her baby. This is what she does. This is how she lives her life.
I actually misread that. I read that as resignation letter. Maybe I should put my glasses on. But so I'm glad that you went ahead and clarified that, because yes, that's and that is absolutely true. Yeah. So what Angela said, don't listen to me, listen to what Angela just said, because I totally misread that. Okay.
She's been doing this a whole lot longer than I have. I'm commenting on the little incidents that I have, the little experience that I have. You've been doing this.
Are you there? Uh-oh.
Please make sure that you make a comment. We have something special that we're going to do at the end of the show. So please make sure that you make a comment. And I'm so pleased that so many of you joined us tonight and are interested in learning about transitioning, because it is very important to our nanny community that we learn how to go from one job to another and how to transition peacefully and put our adulting caps on and make it through it. Are you still with me?
Yeah, and I also, I really want to reinforce the fact that we need to support and encourage and lift up each other as we go through this process. If you are a nanny that's going through a transition and you're having a hard time, reach out to someone. Do not do this by yourself. Do not feel like you have to do this by yourself.
Oh, no.
Because
I'm sorry.
You don't have to.
But we're frozen for some reason.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, on my end, you're frozen, but I'm still live. But Susan said we're both frozen.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess we'll just keep talking and the video will catch up.
Okay.
After we finish.
Okay. Well, we can see the hearts.
I can see the hearts. I can see the messages. I can see them. They can hear us.
Okay. And well, somebody says I can hear and see you both.
Okay. Yes, but you're still frozen on my end. So
I'm frozen.
Okay. Abigail says I hear you both, but
oh, the audio. Okay.
Okay, but the visual is frozen. The audio
okay.
Working,
well,
but the video is not.
Okay, I can keep talking if you want me to.
Keep going, because it's mixed reviews, because some said not on my end. I'm fine. This is not frozen.
Okay.
So I don't know what we're doing. So we're just gonna keep.
Okay. Well, what I want to say is that you don't have to go through this by yourself.
Right.
On the Nanny Transitions Facebook page, I have two Facebook groups. I limit the Facebook groups to 50. So when I get to 50 in one, I start another one. And the reason that I do that is because I want you to have a safe space to talk. I want you to have a safe space to share your feelings. I need accountability, in that group to be sure that I have only nannies in that group. Because
Right.
this is a very personal, very emotional, very difficult thing for a lot of nannies to go through. And I know that there are some incredible nannies out there that have wonderful advice and offer wonderful support. And all you have to do is reach out. And if you don't have a nanny close to you that if you don't have a nanny support group around you, I'm always happy to talk to you. You can message me on my Facebook page, Glenda Probst. You can message me at Nanny Transitions. If I am able to talk to you, I will. And if I can't, I will set up a time when I can. But nobody should have to go through this on their own or by themselves, because it is a hard thing to go through.
Yes, it is. It totally.
And we need to be there for each other.
Yes.
And so if you know a nanny who's in transition, reach out to her and say to her, I heard your job was ending. I just want you to know that I've been through it and I know how hard it is. And if you need to talk, sometimes it doesn't take a lot. You don't have to do a lot. A little goes a long way.
Amen.
A little goes a long way.
Amen.
You just make the effort to reach out. And you would be surprised what a difference it would make.
That's right.
So I encourage each of you to do that for each other. As a community, as Donna Robinson calls us, a sisterhood, as a sisterhood, just to reach out and just to say, I'm thinking of you. I know you're going through a hard time. It means the world. I know it means the world because people have done it to me when I've gone through a hard time. And it just means everything.
It does. Knowing that.
And don't think you're not good enough or you're not smart enough or you're not experienced enough. Just make the move.
Yeah.
Just make the effort.
Yes.
Just make the effort.
You know what I suggest, Glenda? And
What's that?
Everyone needs an accountability partner. And not everyone understands our world because, the nanny world is totally different from anything else that I've ever been in. And I have an accountability partner. I was talking to someone on LinkedIn just 2 days ago, and she was going through and she said, do you know if anything online, any support groups online that I can join, because I feel like I'm alone in this. I feel like I can't do this by myself. I just need someone to vent to. And I asked her, I said, do you have an accountability partner? And she said, what is that? I said, you need a nanny accountability partner that is going to grieve with you when you grieve, that's going to tell you when you're wrong and you need to stop the drama and you're wrong, you need to take a different perspective. They let you get it all out and then say, okay, now here's the truth. This is what you said, but inside of what you said, because I know you, this is what you're doing and you don't even realize that this is what you're doing. So how about you check this idea? How about you check that idea? These things that you're doing, and check yourself before you try to check whatever else that the situation. Because most of the time, when I check myself and when my accountability partner says, no, you could have done this, 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 and this. And I think about it, I was like, you're right. I should have. I didn't think about that. I was too caught up in the situation. And sometimes we get caught up in the situation and we can't see ourselves the way the outside world sees us, the way someone else will see us. But you need an accountability partner to tell you when, what you're feeling is justified. Or that's a bunch of bull. And you need to straighten up and fly right.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked to her, and we all need that accountability. And I'm glad that your groups are small, because sometimes the larger group with thousands of people in there, it is hard to decipher as, okay, so one day I see that you're positive about me, and the next day you're negative about something what I said, and it's like wishy-washy. I don't know whether to trust you or not. It's hard to do that. But if each one of us find that one nanny person that we can talk to, message them, send a message through Messenger, and help them, and you may have ideas of things that you want to do, and everybody else is shooting them down and they think you're crazy, and that one person comes along and says, that's a brilliant idea. Your accountability is like, partner knows you and knows what you're capable of, and they encourage you. You need that encouragement. You need that person is going to tell you the truth. You need that in your life. And I have a couple. I have, my dad is my spiritual accountability partner. My husband, in our marriage and things that we do together in my business, he is very business oriented, and he's like, no, baby, you need to do this. But I also have that one in the nanny community, and she's like, girl, please stop. And I'm like, okay, and they let me know when I'm getting too emotional, because I get all wrapped up into everything, and I'm just a giver, and I get so wrapped up in it, and it angers me, and they let me know, you've gone too far. And I'm like, okay, let me pull back and go at it at another angle. So having an accountability partner, if you can find someone that you trust that's going to tell you the truth, even when you want to cry and sob, they'll let you cry and sob, but they're still going to tell you the truth. That's what you need. I have one. I have several for different areas of my life. That's who I go to, for this area of my life. This is who I go to for that area of my life. This is who I go to for that area of my life, because I know that they're going to tell me the truth, and they understand me in that capacity. So we all need one.
You do. We do.
Yes. Now, do you have anything else, Miss Glenda? We've been on here for an hour and 45 minutes.
We always do this, don't we?
But
Well, I have a lot, but probably not tonight. We probably should do,
okay.
But does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Have we caught up with the?
I think most of them were comments.
Okay.
And everyone is liking, and I love that you all are liking each other's comments and commenting on the comments and answering each other. That's what this is all about.
And it's really encouraging when you're on here and you see those hearts and thumbs up going up the screen, because that lets us know that we're talking, that we're getting through, that you're listening, or that you like what you're hearing, or whatever, we're on target.
Right.
So, thank you for that.
Yes. Thank you. Now we have something special, and I'm going to let Miss Glenda tell us about it. Because she's going to do a giveaway. So can you tell us about it? And for those of us who can actually see, because you're still frozen on my screen, I can hear you, but I can't see you. So Can you tell us about,
Well, then maybe if they can't see me, they won't be able to, I won't matter if I don't have one in front of me.
Okay.
I have a jewelry person that designed a bracelet, and she designed it just for nanny transitions. She designed it for National Nanny Recognition Week. And there is a saying that I kind of came up with. I don't really know if it was my original saying, but it did come into my head. And when I lost somebody dear to me, and it reflects what we do as nannies, and it is that we have them for a season and we love them for a lifetime. And I had this jeweler design this bracelet for me. It is a sterling silver bracelet that says those words on it. You have them for a season, you love them for a lifetime.
I love that.
And I can probably upload a picture of it later.
Okay.
But Yeah, and then I think that also, Angela, if somebody is like not a jewelry person and they didn't want the bracelet, we could do Marsha's book
Oh yeah,
instead.
I love that.
Give them a choice, okay?
Yes, yes, I love that.
So you can either you can either have the bracelet or you could have the book, the
If
Nanny
you don't
Basics and
break,
Beyond by Marsha Hall.
I'm just saying.
Okay.
So how much
Yeah.
do you still have? Do you still have any more of the bracelets? Are they still on sale?
I can order one. Well, and
Oh,
that's what I would do is I would order one.
okay,
Uh-huh.
okay.
So they could have a choice of a bracelet or a choice of the book.
So let me ask you this: if more than just one of us wants a bracelet, can we contact you to get the bracelet, and how much does it
Yes,
cost?
if you want the bracelet. And um, I will come back on and put a picture of the bracelet up so that you can see it.
Okay.
I have a, yeah, I'll do that, okay? And then they'll have an idea, okay? And so you're gonna do this, how are we gonna do this?
Okay. I
I know you told
put
me.
with a number. Oh, and the name of the book. Somebody asked the name of the book. The name of the book is Nanny Basics and Beyond. And
Yeah.
I had Marsha. She was on about 20 days ago, October the 2nd. It was on
Uh-huh.
Monday.
She was on here a
She
while
was,
ago. Marcia, are you
yes,
still here?
she was. Oh, is she still here?
I don't, she was here.
Okay.
I don't know if she's still here.
Can you read
Um,
the name of the book? Okay, the name of the book
hang on.
is Nanny Basics
I can
and
show you the book. I have one, but wait a minute. It's holding up my phone.
Beyond.
It was just the right height. So,
It has
okay,
many uses.
here it is. Can you see it?
I can't see it, but they probably can.
Okay, can you guys see it?
Okay.
And it's Nanny Basics and Beyond. And I will tell you that Marcia went and she interviewed different people in the industry, different professionals on different topics. And they talked to her about, different things that nannies deal with, working for special needs families, traveling with a nanny, nanny transitions, choosing the right job, dealing with conflict, self-care. It's a big book and 365 some odd pages, and it is fabulous.
Yes.
So it is something that everyone would want to own, but so is the bracelet, I think. So,
Yes.
but like I said, if you're not a jewelry person and you prefer the book, we could do either one. So I think that
Okay.
you should have a choice.
Okay. So
Okay.
I know the book sells for $25 on Amazon.
Uh-huh.
It was on
Yeah.
sale during Nanny Palooza, and I asked
Mhm.
her, and during Nanny Palooza East, she's gonna have some books there. She said she's gonna try to have some books there. I can't guarantee it, but she said she's gonna try to have some books there on sale, and you will get the same discount that Nanny Palooza West got. So, um, you can find the book. Okay, Lucretia, yes, you can find the book on Amazon.com.
Yes, you
It's
can.
$55 on Amazon.com. But the
Yes.
the discounted price is like $18, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
18. So if you're going to Nanny Palooza East in a couple of weeks, just next weekend, yes. Um, be sure to look for
Marsha Hall.
Marsha Hall is the author's name. And she was actually on Ask the Nanny on October the 7th, October the 2nd,
Yep.
which was like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So
Uh-huh.
you can look in the archives on Ask the Nanny, and you can find the interview with her, and we discussed her book and what was in the book. And but I have seen the bracelet. I saw the bracelet during National Nanny Recognition Week, and I fell in love with it. That's why I wanted to ask you, how much is the bracelet if we wanted to special order one? I know you said you had to order them and get them made, but how much is the bracelet to get one?
Okay, I lost her. Oh no. Okay, hold on a second. Let me see if I can get her back up. I don't see her on here. Hold on. Miss Glenda, where did you go? Okay, I don't know what just happened. Maybe her phone ran out of juice. But, oh, Glenda is frozen. Well, I don't even have her up on my screen. I'm on my screen alone. If you're seeing this video and you see her, all I can see is me. I don't see her on my screen. It's just me. So I was trying to see where she was so I can see if I can find her. There she is. Let me see if I can add her back in. And maybe she's coming on. She's coming on. And now I'm frozen too. Sorry. It's adding Miss Glenda. All right, let's see if we're going to make a connection. Oh, no. I'm pixelating. Glenda is missing from mine too. Okay, so it says I'm adding. Let me try again. I'm going to try one more time to see if I can get her on. I'm trying to get back to you, Joylyn. We're trying to get back. We're trying to get back. I don't know what just happened. It says we're still live. Let me see if I can find it. Nope, that's not right. Oh my goodness. Okay. Can you see me? I'm searching for Glenda and trying to find. I'm trying to find Glenda. Oh no. Let's see. I'm looking, everyone. I'm looking and I don't see Glenda. Let me see if I can invite her to come back on. Okay. Let me send her an invitation. I'm looking. But anyway, we are going to give away this a bracelet. And the way we're going to do this, if you made a comment tonight, we're going to call out a number. If you can still see me or you can hear me, the first person who posts a number, we are going to take that number and I'll tell you how we're going to do it. I can only comment, I see and hear nothing. What am I missing? Oh, man. I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm typing a message. If you can hear me, I'm typing a message. We'll be choosing a winner. If I can get Miss Glenda to come back. Okay. I'm trying to get this together. Okay. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me? Oh, okay. So let me see. The first number that I see is 45. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll up from the top and go all the way down to number 45. And whoever's comment is number 45 is who is going. Susan, you don't want to hear me sing. So whoever's comment is number 45 from the top is who is going to win the bracelet or the bracelet or the book. So let me start counting. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. Okay, Carol Cutright Collier is the winner of the bracelet or the book. Her comment is number 45 on my screen. And there's Glenda. She's watching, but I don't think I can add her on. So, Carol, let me write this down so I will know who to contact. And if you're still here, Carol, let's see, Carol Cutright Collier is the winner of the bracelet. And I just want to personally thank Miss Glenda for joining us tonight and giving us all the advice that she gave us and giving us the butterfly wisdoms. If you haven't visited Nanny Transitions, you can go to Nanny Transitions on Facebook, and please stop by and like her page and show her some love and leave her some reviews. Please, 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 please do that for me and do that for her, because what she's doing is a labor of love. She does not get paid for it, but she helps so many people. And she has such great advice. Please go by and show her some love. And while you're looking up places and showing some love, stop by Ask the Nanny page and show us some love. The more love you show us, the more popular we become and the more people who will join. And pretty soon I'm working on some things, and I'm going to have some news for you all. Probably the middle of November. I'm trying to get everything set into place before I say anything. But Ask the Nanny has we're working on some things, and it's going to benefit you all. And because you know me, I am all about professional development. I'm all about nannies having a fair, being fair, parents treating you fairly. I am all about you all self-care. I am all about you all taking care of yourselves, and both mentally, physically, because mentally it is a hard job, especially if you have children who have disabilities or inabilities, and children who are babies who are colicky and are needy. We're all about that, and I want to give back to you. So I'm working on some things. So please join us next week. We're going to be doing blogs and pods. And blogs and pods, say that 10 times fast. We are doing nanny bloggers and nanny podcasts. So if you are a blogger or a potential blogger, or you have a podcast, please join us next week. We're going to be talking about nanny blogs and nanny podcasts. And there's some great ones out there. I listen to one to some almost every day, and I read articles every day, read blogs every day. So, and they are very informative. And Glenda had a blog also that she's going to share with us. I think somebody already posted it, but please, please, please join us again next week.
And we will talk to you then. Same time, same place. And you all have a good evening. And I will see you all next week. And thanks again, Miss Glenda. We really appreciate your advice. See you all soon.